But my beats, they are hard.
Welcome back to another edition of the SportsWrap Show. AD Drew here, and joining us on this special edition of the SportsWrap Show is Tuskegee University head baseball coach, Reginald Hollins. Coach Hollins, how are you doing on this lovely day?
Doing well, Drew. Thanks for having me on the show, and just glad to be here so we can wrap.
Hey, that's what it's all about. You know, we've got a lot of big and exciting things going on with Tuskegee University athletics in general, Tuskegee University baseball. You know, I know it's been a little bit of a tough year on campus. Unfortunately, you've lost two active head coaches due to deaths this year. So I know it's been a tough time on campus for you guys there at Tuskegee University.
Absolutely, yeah. We're just trying to be sure that we uplift our students through the loss because not only is it affecting the Tuskegee community, but definitely the student body. Anytime you have a leader that's been coaching you for, years, and each day it's kind of tough to lose that person. So just trying to really leave a mark with the tennis team. And picking them up in the loss of Coach Ernest Grant, and also with the softball team in the loss of their head coach, Edward Carver.
Yes. And, you've got a long tenured history at Tuskegee University, both as a player, a GA, assistant coach, and now a head coach. You've been at Tuskegee University for, over 15 years, if I'm correct, Coach?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Yes. When you were there at Tuskegee, let's start off with your tenure as a player. You were all conference a couple of times. You were a stud pitcher. You led the conference in hitting a couple of times. Just talk about how it felt to play at Tuskegee, just as a player back in the day.
Well, definitely a privilege to play in such a historic program as Tuskegee. There's so much history and things that we could get into about the program that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. But just being able to have the opportunity to come in and help change the program, because at that time that I came in as a freshman, program was on a downward spiral a little bit, just lack of support, and just to be able to come in as a player and help put back some energy into what was already existing. It was just a pleasure. And, actually had some teammates at that time that really spoke highly of where they wanted to go during my recruiting process. So big thanks to those guys that helped my decision. And now we're looking back 15 years, it's all making sense on that journey leading me to Tuskegee University.
All right. Obviously, you got what you came to Tuskegee to ultimately get, which is a degree. But you decided to stay first as a GA and then later on as an assistant coach. Why stay, Coach?
Great question, Drew. The history of the program really dialed me in. I thought that it would be a good thing to sacrifice some other things that I had on my mind at that time and stay around the program to get us back to that rich history of winning. As you know, we're responsible for 13-plus SIAC championships and a couple of national runs. And I just thought it would be a great opportunity to sow back into these young men that were not getting the opportunities that they possibly felt they deserved. So with me becoming a GA, I could, help them get across that stage. I could also help them through the game of baseball, but at large, definitely to be a better man into this world and to sow, some good young African American ball players back into this world and this community.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the history of Tuskegee University baseball. The program's been around since 1892. It is the oldest sport on campus, despite the accolades of football and basketball. It is the original sport at Tuskegee University. Give us a little bit about the history of Tuskegee baseball.
Yeah, like you said, it was organized by James B. Washington, who is the brother of Booker T. Washington, like you said, in 1892. And first sport on campus. A lot of people are not aware of that, but that's a big thing for us, too. So I make sure my guys understand that this is important. We hold a legacy in our hands daily because this was the first sport on campus. So it's our obligation to become successful consistently. But just a little bit about, we have 13 SIAC championships, had some real power teams back in the days. Definitely those 80s, they ran the table for consecutive years. So big ups to those teams. We've produced some major league guys, the first one being Leon Wagner. You have the late Kenny Howell. You have Alan Mills, Roy Lee Jackson, and several others who have gone on to play some type of professional ball. So the history is there. The winning tradition is there, and I think that's our job as a current program to uphold that legacy that was set before us.
And you do have definitely the opportunity of upholding that legacy. I believe you're in your third year as head coach.
This will be fourth year. Yeah,
fourth year. I've lost count.
Time is flying, Drew. Time is flying.
Yeah. Talk about that transition going from assistant coach to head coach, and how you really felt leaving your mark on the program as a head coach now.
It was a huge transition 4 years ago, to be honest, because as an assistant coach, you're going to always have more of a relationship with the guys, and you can be a lot more hands-on. That way you can, provide the information to the head coach that, of things that are going on, maybe concerns, maybe, things that need to be addressed. The players are going to always come to the assistant first before the head. And that was a major adjustment for me because I had such great relationships as far as being totally hands-on with the guys, but I had to learn to remove myself a little bit because here I am in the head position now making decisions. So, I didn't want to cross the lines, as far as continuing to almost function like an assistant. So that was an adjustment for me just to kind of let back a little bit and now hire. The hiring process, that was different, getting assistants in, student assistants, giving them opportunities, now being in charge of that. And ultimately, just being in charge of 31 guys, totally, everything relies on you. The safety is in your hands. Their parents on the recruiting process, they trust you with their sons. So just total accepting the total package of responsibility, that was the major adjustment, Drew.
Now, let's talk about the recruiting process. Obviously, if you know anything about college baseball in general, they don't get anywhere near the scholarships that football and basketball get, number one. And then number two, on the Division II level, it's, for lack of a better words, it's even worse. So just talk about that, and then you throw in the high academic standards that Tuskegee has. How are you able to get players to come to Tuskegee? Just be honest. It's gotten tough.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a tough task, but we don't make excuses, Drew. But just as you said, Division II is allowed 9, and most programs are not awarded that full 9 for several reasons. And us being one of those programs, we have to go out and recruit heavy academic personnel that can come in and maybe get, good assistance from the school because they have been rewarded for their grades and their test scores. So our recruiting process is a little bit different. It's almost academic first and, skill set second. So definitely have to attack those guys that put themselves in a great position coming out of high school or their JUCO or wherever they may be transferring from. So we look for high academic guys. So anytime I'm at a showcase or, any type of recruiting event, I'm asking about grades first. And that's also a good testament to the university and the high quality of education and academics that it carries. So it fits right in, but sometimes it gets a little bit difficult simply because you may have a guy that's a little bit borderline and not able to really afford school. And that's where I feel like we should be able to make up that aid in having our fully funded scholarships. So it does get tough at times, but we make the best of it, Drew, and we continue to fight every day.
Now, I remember back when you played, there were a number of players on your teams that both played football and baseball. Do you still have that current situation with your roster now?
No, the times are a little different. Coaches more so want full-time commitment, which is understood. So we had to totally move in a new direction with that. And so with that being said, Drew, we are 100% all baseball players. So that helps in another sense. But sometimes you can miss out on some elite athletes, such as football guys that come here for, to play football here at Tuskegee. So that's something that really got this program spiked and started with being able to have elite dual athletes. But, we're having to go away from that. So we're 100% full-time baseball, which has been a good thing because you have them year-round. So it's not as bad as it may seem. But we do miss out on some pretty good athletes that play football as well.
There used to be the joke that the reason a lot don't play baseball so they can get out of spring football practice back in the day.
Yeah, that was definitely the running joke with a couple of my teammates, man. They say, hey, I don't have to worry about spring ball because I'm playing baseball. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that one, Drew.
Yes. As you go around, Tuskegee has had its ups and downs as one of the elite programs in the SIAC and HBCU baseball in general. But HBCU baseball, for lack of better words, does not get the respect for one reason or another that other PWI baseball tends to get. Any thoughts about that, Coach?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've helped ourselves within the last 10 years, though. As far as HBCU baseball as a widespread, I think we're more respected now. We're out there. We're having some, even within the SWAC and the MEAC, you see some teams really upsetting bigger schools. And, of course, in the SIAC, you see some teams upsetting bigger Division II schools. So that really helps put us on the map. We're getting in some ranking polls. So I think the respect is going up. We've definitely increased. I think a lot of it had to do with increasing the talent level a little bit as far as pitching. Because we would always have athletes and position guys, but it really neutralized when it came to that mound and that bump. So one thing I've seen in the last 10 years is a tremendous spike upward from a pitching aspect. So I think that's now giving us a little bit more level playing field to compete with these power programs.
Are you seeing more POs? For those who don't know, POs
Yeah.
mean pitchers only in HBCU baseball versus the dual player, the position player who can also pitch, or the pitcher who can also play a position. And I say it both ways because a lot of people are more dominant in one position or another.
Absolutely.
Do you still see the dual player, more POs? Kind of talk about that, Coach.
Yeah, that's a great point, Drew, because like I said, you have those athletes that are used to doing multiple positions, but sometimes when you advance at another level, you kind of need to dwindle it down and focus on, a specific position so you can perfect that craft and be the best at that position. So, yeah, you are seeing a lot more POs, pitcher-onlys, nowadays in HBCU baseball. And that's definitely helping that spike I spoke on a minute ago. But I know with our squad right now, we went from having, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, we may have had 5 POs that focused on pitching only, and then we would use we would have a total of maybe 12 arms, and the rest were pitcher position guys. So they really weren't able to focus and perfect that pitching craft as they really could, do. So now you're seeing our ratio a lot better. We have maybe an average of 15 arms total, and we have 10 POs. So that's a big difference I've noticed, in our play. I've noticed when we compete at the tournaments, we're just in a better position to be successful because of having more POs.
Right, and I don't care what. Go ahead.
Excuse me, Drew. And also it helps with your lineup, because it gets messy sometimes when you're interchanging lineups with position guys at pitcher, because some position guys may be your better hitters. So now with having POs, it's a much easier stature of a lineup because you don't have to change out those hitters. You can just sub your pitchers. So that helps as well too.
And then just go with your DH,
Absolutely. Yep. Your DH is your DH. Yep, absolutely.
Right. And I was going to say, I don't care what level of baseball you're playing. You could be playing Dixie League baseball, Little League baseball, all the way up to professional baseball. When it comes tournament time, arms are the key, especially if you get into that losers bracket. You've got to have the arms to put you back in. And I've been around enough tournaments to see that team that comes out the losers bracket 9 times out of 10 is not going to win because they're going to be out of arms when they do make it to the championship game. Yes, I tell you what, Coach. What we're gonna do right now, we're gonna take a short break, and then we're gonna get back into the renovation project that you have coming up there at Tuskegee University. A little bit more about your program also. With Coach Reginald Hollins, Tuskegee University, head baseball coach. We'll be back after this short break.
It didn't. What happened was a gentleman wanted to do the Black College Sports Network in partnership with the HBCU for these black colleges.
Absolutely.
And it would have educated the Black College Sports Network. This is what he wanted to do. That would have educated a lot of black kids. Okay? That was the real reason why I got into it, was when I saw what happened with the Black College Sports Network,
The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character. Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
We're back on the Sports Wrap. A.D. Drew, and joining me on this edition of the Sports Wrap is Tuskegee University head baseball coach Reggie Hollins. Reggie Hollins has been the head coach at Tuskegee University for the past 4 years, but prior to his tenure as head coach, he was an assistant coach there. He was a grad assistant at Tuskegee and even played baseball at Tuskegee. Before we get into the renovation project, Coach, one thing that's kind of that troubles me, I've been around, as you know, I've been around youth athletics for pretty much all of my life, all of my adult life. The state of black youth baseball. We as a society, our children don't play baseball. They definitely don't play baseball at the level that it did when I was growing up. You're a few years younger than me. They probably don't even play at the level that you played when you were growing up. Why is that, Coach?
Great question. I think this is a big conversation, ongoing conversation in the baseball community. I think it's several landscapes that play out with black youth baseball and the lack thereof. The first thing I would say is the structure has changed. It used to be a park ball format or YMCA format, whatever you may call it, and that's not as relevant anymore because the travel ball industry has taken over. So anytime you have travel ball that's taken over, with that travel ball comes a lot of games and a lot of traveling, which also increases your dollar amount to compete. And so that puts us in a financial bind, to say the least. And a lot of kids just cannot afford it. You already have the aspects of having to get a bat, a glove, baseballs, but
don't forget the cleats.
Cleats, absolutely, cleats and pans and all of the gear that goes with it. But to have to travel and pay fees such as lodging and tournament fees or whatever, food, whatever may come with that travel ball year, it gets quite expensive. And I think that's definitely something that has neutralized a lot of our black youth from playing baseball. It's a lot easier to go pick up a basketball, find a hoop around, and football, it's a lot easier. It's a lot more affordable. And then also, I think the next thing leads from just what they see at a pro format. We see a lot of African-American players on the NFL surface. We see a lot of them on the NBA surface. So most times kids go with what they see and the role models that they see out there. So even such as going into the music industry. So if they see that out there, that's something they're inspired to be outside of, any other field. So I think with the lack of, I know in 2019, Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like 7.7%.
I know it's been under 10 for the longest.
Yeah, it's been under 10 for a while. So I know 2019 it was 7.7%, and only 182 or so are rostered in the major league anyway. So that leaves us about 68 players or so that are African American. That's pretty low. And then I also know that overseas has picked up on the baseball platform. So those guys are getting spots as well. They're coming from places that focus on baseball only.
Dominican, Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Dominican, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, you name it. Those are big baseball places. And so those kids are really serious. They're setting up concentration camps as far as like baseball platforms over there. Major League Baseball sets those up, and if those kids are doing that year round and that's all they're focusing on, they're gonna be pretty good. And what's happening is we're bypassing, because I actually like the fact that we still stay spread out with the choices of sports that we play as a young kid, because it gives us options, it gives us different experiences. But I think that also puts us behind the 8 ball too, because those other countries are just kind of getting a step ahead and taking some of the opportunities. But I think it's important for those young men to see black baseball players at the college level. We're right now we're 90+% African American on my program. So when a young black kid sees that, I think it inspires him and gives him some hope that, hey, maybe I should stick with this right here, because I see these young men bettering themselves in their lives through the game of baseball. So I think it's just about us exposing it a little bit more, putting a little bit more publicity behind it, us that have made it, setting up more free camps, clinics. And, as we go into talking about the renovations, these are some of the things that we're going to address by making our situations better, because in that Tuskegee community, we should be able to put on a lot of free clinics and camps to expose the kids more so to baseball, because once you learn the game, it becomes more intriguing. If you don't know the game, it's not intriguing to you. So I just think those platforms are very important with the lack of participation.
Now, I've got 2 follow-up questions for you. You just mentioned that 90% of your roster is African-American. But there are some HBCUs that probably 90% of their roster is non-African-American. Just without singling anybody out, what are your thoughts about that? HBCUs going out, and don't take this the wrong way. I'm all for diversity,
Absolutely.
But we're HBCU for a reason.
To be clear, so am I.
Yes, we're HBCUs for a reason, though. And, when I've only got 1 or 2 people who look like me and who talk like me playing for my alma mater or my local HBCU that I root for, I don't particularly have a problem with it, but there are some old school people who do have a problem with it.
Correct.
Your thoughts?
I'll say this in a general aspect. I'm definitely not against diversity. I think we'll be able to eventually move more towards diversity here soon, because we're bettering some resources that we have going on, and we're expanding our recruiting process and our platform. So I'm not against it, but there are several programs that are lacking the African American participation. I just think that comes from I really think that comes from the coaches that are hired as well, because as a coach, sometimes you go with what you know and what you're comfortable with. So I think that has a big role to do with it. But I think it's also a responsibility of the coach to come into an HBCU and understand that we still need to give, African Americans this opportunity, simply because this was the platform that awarded us the opportunity in the first place when we were not able to go to the PWIs. So I'm all for the mix and the diversity, but I think it's our responsibility as coaches to still reward the deserving African American players with the opportunity, and that's where I stand on it. So I will always have a good engaged number as far as African Americans in any program that I'm the head of.
Right. Now, we've all seen it. You've got that one good kid, African American kid, may not play for the best high school baseball program. He's obviously the stud on that baseball program, but he's a fish out of water. The other 8 people out there that can't really hit and catch the ball. if I have that player, that's my son, that's my nephew, that's my grandson, what would you suggest that I do to get that child exposed or whatever they need to do to get to a place like a Tuskegee or another HBCU? Because we've seen it plenty of times in our communities.
Well, I think it's always good, Drew, to understand that process first. So with that being said, if any of us are going on any type of interview and we're not prepared, it kind of puts us at a disadvantage. So the first thing I would say is to really fine-tune those fundamentals and the processes of their skill sets first before being showcased, because a lot of kids are being awarded opportunities to showcase, but they're just not quite ready for that next level. So before even going into the process of how to be exposed, I just think we have to do a better job at being prepared for that opportunity when it presents itself, such as IQ of the game, such as fine-tuning fundamentals through your swing, because us as coaches, we don't always look at results. We look at the potential through what the player provides, arm velocity. Is he getting stronger? Is he in the weight room? Those are things that we look at to project on our level, because we know as you advance, the pitching gets better, the arms get faster, the arms get stronger, the runners get faster. So the game just elevates totally. So I just would like for our guys out here that are looking for college opportunities and professional opportunities to better prepare themselves for those next levels. But then once you get that addressed, you have to understand that there are showcase platforms out here. We're at all of the travel ball events. Also, there's nothing wrong with emailing and promoting yourself. If your coach is helping, that's a plus. But you just have to put yourself in position to get that opportunity. So sometimes emails, sometimes, figuring out each showcase platform during the summer, and also, like I said, getting out here in these showcases and these tournament showcases with your travel league team. Believe it or not, you're being seen. Sometimes kids get overlooked, but in the event that you feel like you're overlooked, you have to reach out sometimes. You can't be afraid to reach out. And most coaches on the staff will respond in some type of form or fashion, because each of us outside of these general showcases, we have our own showcases and camps. So a lot of kids that pull, that we pull from the email database get the opportunity to come to our university and our campus for our showcase. So it's really a good thing to help self-promote. And then social media. Look at Twitter, look at Instagram, look at Facebook. Like, those are platforms as well to help promote yourself and showcase, your kids or themselves. So that's just my viewpoint on it.
All right. And speaking of showcases, you're going to have a brand new facility, or a brand new renovated facility to have your showcases in the near future. Washington Field, historic Washington Field at Tuskegee University, has undergone a major renovation. Come a long way. Still got a long way to go, but you've come a long way. This has been your pet project since I've known you as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely when you became head coach, that was your number one goal. Just kind of give people the background of how we got to where we were before the project and days at Patterson Field in Montgomery, Alabama.
Yeah, so 2012, we moved off campus for several reasons. Just the facility was just not up to par to compete at the college level. So we were moved off campus to Patterson Field in Montgomery, Alabama, which is a former.
How far is that, Coach, for people who don't know?
Man, it's a 50-minute commute from campus to ballpark. which can be treacherous, man. So we've had to deal with that for 8 years at commuting to a home game. So first off, this is why it's so exciting for our program and our guys, because we no longer have to commute 50 minutes, and now we can also allow our student body to be a part of what we have going on here at Tuskegee Baseball and the community in Tuskegee. But to say the least, we've been there for 8 years, but somewhere I would say maybe 2014, I always knew that we need to return games back to Tuskegee because once I figured out that, hey, the student body that had once seen baseball on campus trickled out, I was like, wow, that's very interesting. We have to address this. And so I didn't quite know I would take over his head, but I was doing all I could as an assistant. But once I had the opportunity to take over as head coach, I just knew we had to hit the ground running. And then sometimes you just know that, you have to be creative with how you, generate funds or, generate a project to even develop it. So in my head, I had always had a vision. And I think, Booker T basically laid the vision for me. So I didn't reinvent the wheel. Just pretty much what I knew was how Tuskegee was built. And any historian understands that Tuskegee University was built by the students. And that's the approach Booker T took years and years ago. And that's why we were so light years ahead of everyone else, because he took the approach to teach the students how to do the work. And so he always made it a student initiative. So if you walk around our campus, you'll see historic patterns on our buildings for a reason. And that's because we keep that history going because those students built those bricks by hand. So I just adopted that into this field renovation project, and I felt that it would become successful if we tapped into that identity. So first thing I did, Drew, was I started with the School of Agriculture and met with the dean, gave a proposal on what I was trying to do. And not only did I want to seek out his help, I wanted to create a student initiative so the students can actually get their hands on the work and the project. And I think that's free experience, and it was a no-brainer for me. And then once the proposal came out, it was a no-brainer for Dean Hill, who spearheaded, us getting the surface together. So we then got on board with agriculture. They then brought in architecture and construction. And so what we did was we took soil samples of the existing, surface. We learned how to laser level so we could really create a nice and smooth playing surface for the young men. And then we took upside. We learned the correct soil to put down after the soil sample. But even further, we went under the ground and learned plumbing. So we built our own irrigation system under the ground, which is now amazing because it can take care and nurture itself. So that was just a little bit of how it got started. But the first thing we addressed was the new cages and bullpen areas. And I wanted to address that simply because it will help our practice structure. Our cages were outdated, needed new netting, needed a new frame, and needed turf down underneath so we would not get rained out on certain days. So if it rained early and stopped, we could still practice. And then our bullpens were just outdated, so we needed to, create the new structure. So we did that. And then after the grounds and we laid new sod, Drew, we then began to attack the areas of the dugout and fencing and backstop. So our backstop was full chain link. It was very outdated. So we went back with a new netting system. So there's a such thing called a 4-pole netting system that is now at Washington Field. So with that,
is that similar to the one that's on the softball field?
Absolutely, very similar with the chain link base, and it just that that backstop protects the fans from any foul balls that may come straight back. And it also gives a perimeter. So with that, we now renovated the dugouts. We've put new cinder block down. We've done a total new roofing landscape, new electricity in there. So it's a total facelift. And then also outside of the playing sections, for the fan experience, we've redone some surfacing areas there. And we will continue to address the press box, the concession, the restrooms, and the grandstand areas at a later date. But we've now gotten ourselves back to a situation to where the surface and the field is playable and in great condition. So we're excited about that, and that's just a little bit about where we are, on our renovation project. But it took a lot of hours of fundraising initiatives created by our program and our teams, and then also once we were able to show that we were committed to putting our monies in, people just started to come because they saw the changes coming, and they just started to want to pour in to the project that we had put forth. So God is good. It's God's work we're doing. He has tied a lot of things in for us, and it's all just beginning to make sense. So March 21st, we're excited to return baseball here on the campus since 8 years ago. So that's an exciting time for us. I'm excited for the student body. They now get to experience the game atmosphere because the type of ball we play, we bring an electric atmosphere, and it's going to really promote baseball baseball and softball back in the community here in Tuskegee, and that's what it's all about.
Well, we're online with Tuskegee University head baseball coach Reginald Hollins here on the SportsWrap show. And Coach Hollins, you talked about people coming in, pouring money in, helping with the project from the outside community. Is there anybody in particular who you want to shout out and thank you while we have you on this platform?
Absolutely. Like I said, Dean Hill, he's been very instrumental in the School of Agriculture. And he also helped us link with the School of Architecture and Construction, so a big shout-out to them. But also just want to give a shout-out to Beck's Turf. So Mr. Wayne Bassett, he was very instrumental in providing some things we needed to be successful with our turf. So and he just provided a lot of knowledge into our student athletes and our coaching staff as far as how to maintain the field. Mr. Jim McKissick, he was a liaison for the baseball field, so he provided some structural things on direction on how to go about the field. And also I have to shout out one person in particular, and that's my assistant coach, Danny Barnes. He was very instrumental in putting the labor hours in with me on the field. So, most times when you see a renovation project, the coaching staff's not out there doing the work themselves, but we put in a lot of man hours. And to have someone like himself and Cameron Hollins, the student assistant, and just some of the other athletes from other sports that came out and volunteered their time, to have that support, oh man, it's amazing. It's just a great time at Tuskegee right now for us, and to have that support coming from different student athletes, that shows the growth in the program, and that's taking a step forward. So I just want to thank all those people. If I didn't name them, sorry I missed you, but you will get your just due on the 21st.
We'll charge it to your head, not to your heart, Coach.
There you go.
And I think that is wonderful that using the resources that you had there on campus at first, in addition to bringing in the outside help. So many times Absolutely. We just go hire a general contractor. They go out and hire their people, but for you to offer opportunities for the students at Tuskegee to get hands-on experience in that project, stuff that if you're a construction science major or architecture major, or, dealing with turf, agriculture major dealing with turf, or even the architecture major dealing with the design, they've got something that they can put on their resume, which makes them even more marketable as they leave Tuskegee University and enter the real world. And kudos to you, your staff, athletic director Slater, and everybody else who was a part of coming up with that innovative approach. And of course, Dean Hill, personal friend of mine.
I'm glad you said that, Drew. I'm glad you said
Go
that.
ahead.
Coach Slater, man, once this project kind of took off, he really took interest, man. He was out there himself putting in work. The new head basketball coach, Benji Taylor. Those guys were instrumental in coming out there and actually putting in a helping hand. So you can just tell it's got the whole athletic department excited about what's to come for us. And I just appreciate Coach Slater for allowing me to work as I have been able to, and then also just having, him as a support system.
Yeah, and full disclosure to everybody, I attended Tuskegee University for graduate school and was an integral part of the graduate school there in Tuskegee, even coaching basketball there on campus for a few years. So that's where my relationship goes back to Coach Hollins from our days.
Absolutely, Drew.
There on campus.
Good time.
But
good time.
Yes, we did. Have some good times there together. But kind of off the subject, but on the subject, what do you think that Tuskegee can learn from your experience and how you approach your project with some of the other facilities, athletic facilities that need to be upgraded and renovated at Tuskegee University?
Well, if it was one thing, it would be just to help yourself first, because if we can help ourselves first, outside personnel will want to be on board because they've seen the work that we're willing to do, the time that we're willing to sacrifice. So everyone loves a good story. Everyone loves, somebody who's trying to really work hard to help themselves. So that would be the main take from this project for me, for the rest of any facility standpoint, just to show that we're willing to help ourselves, and also just gather those alumni back from that program, because my alumni, that's another shout out I have to do. My baseball alumni were really clutch in helping getting this started as well financially. They sold back into the program. We kind of rallied, and I mean we've gotten from the classes of 60s, late 60s, all the way into current on board. And in a group setting, and we're all on a thread, so newsletter goes out each month just to keep them updated. And, sometimes I think you have to put a little bit more appreciation into the guys that paved the way, so that they will want to come back and put in and sow into the programs. So that's another take, I think. Just embody your alumni in the body of work that they put forth for your program, and I think they'll come back and return to make sure that the future is secured and taken care of.
All right, Coach, I tell you what, this interview has gone on a little bit longer than you and I both anticipated. Let's take another quick break, then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about your current roster, your current players, the current season, and that special opening day. SportsWrap, Coach Reginald Hollins, Tuskegee University. This is A.D. Drew. We'll be back right after this.
The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character. Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
It didn't. What happened was a gentleman wanted to do the Black College Sports Network in partnership with the HBCU or these black colleges.
Absolutely.
And it would have educated the Black College Sports Network. This is what he wanted to do. That would have educated a lot of black kids. Okay. That was the real reason why I got into it, was when I saw what happened with the Black College Sports Network, which I.
We're back on a special edition of the SportsWrap Show. A.D. Drew here with Coach Reginald Hollins of Tuskegee University Baseball, head baseball coach for the last 4 years at Tuskegee University, but he's been on campus for the last 15 years. Player, assistant coach, and now as a head coach. Coach Hollins, let's talk about the 2020 Tuskegee University baseball team and how they're doing right now. Who are some of the players that we need to watch out for on their current team?
I have a couple of seniors that are playing well right now and leading well as well. I would start with Savante Williams. He's a starting pitcher of mine. Right now, I think he is toting a 3-1 record with almost. I think he's pitched about 46 innings, and he has 35 strikeouts. So that's pretty impressive right now. So he's really toting the rubber well, commanding the strike zone, and having great outings. Hunter Hudson, who's another starting pitcher, he's really coming on well right now. Notorious Cooler, another starting pitcher who's really coming on well. And then I have some guys on the back end of that bullpen in Keldrick Burton and Devin Shaw that are really lights out right now. But offensively, Ronald McGee, Dominic Johnson, Caleb Cobb, Joshua Lewis, Ty Albright, Ryan Martin, those guys are really hitting the baseball right now. And they're carrying the load on getting runs across. So I'm extremely excited for those guys, especially Ryan Martin. He's one of those guys that has been very patient for playing time and just worked while he waits. We talk about that all the time, work while you wait, because some guys can get, a little bit emotional when they're not playing, but most times it's something you need to work on to get better. And he's taking that approach mentally, and now this year it's paying off for him. So he's a junior. He's really producing for our lineup, so I'm just really glad he's being rewarded. But as I stated, Ronald McGee, that's a catcher. He's been both having a strong presence both defensively and offensively. So I think he's really commanding everything out of those pitchers. So it's always good when you have a general behind that plate. But my middle guys, Dominic Johnson and Caleb Cobb, they're responsible for a ton of RBIs and timely hits. We talk about timely hits all the time. So I'm just excited as a whole for this team. But those are some of the guys that are standing out. And I also have some players to watch out for, man. I have some young guys that are really starting to figure it out in Richard Smith and Mark Hatch, and also Kyrie Broughton. Those guys are competing with the energy, and they bring a very passionate spark to our lineup when they're in the game. So I'm extremely proud to see what's to come for those guys and the way they're gelling with the older guys.
Talk about the style of play. What when fans come to the new Washington Field, what what style of baseball do you guys typically play? Are you a power hitting team, or are you a punch and Judy team? Do you play small ball, try to steal a lot of bases, good defense? Just what do the fans have to look for when they come to Washington Field?
I actually think we're well balanced. So, there could be times we put bunch down, but for the most part, we're gap-to-gap team. We like to hit it and run. So we look for extra bases, and that's the type of team we are. So we may do a little bit of movement just to kind of keep a little pressures on certain teams. But, I don't want to give too much, Drew, to the opponents. But definitely electric to watch us because we have fun when we play. I always tell the guys, play with the energy, play with the passion, play like it's your last every game. So you'll always see that electric energy, even from the dugout, just being in tune with what's going on, trying to help the players. There's just an electric feel that I know this home crowd is going to intensify even more. So, yeah, that's to say the least. That's the type of style of ball we play. So, we're not necessarily a base-to-base team. We like to move a little bit and hit gaps and look for those extra bases, those doubles and triples.
All right. Getting ready to open up conference play. Most teams have not had the opportunity to play a conference game. Most of the month of February is playing the non-conference game. Some people have taken some whoopings by some of the other teams, and some teams have put on a good show. You're currently sitting at 6-6 right now with conference play getting ready to open up. Just kind of in general talk about the SIAC baseball conference, specifically the Western Division.
Well, Drew, I can tell you this. From when I was a student athlete here to now, the conference as a whole is much better. It's extremely competitive. Week in, week out, you have to play your best ball, or you could find yourself behind the 8 ball. So just on the west side, you have programs such as Kentucky State, Robert Henry. He's doing a great job up there with those guys. He's got them competing. You have Lane College, who's hit the scene running. They're definitely have improved. They're an improved team with a ton of athletes. I'm sure they have better pitching this year. Like we're all just trying to increase that pitching because we have the athletes offensively, as I said. But you also have Miles College, who's increased their program over the past years. Lemoyne Oren is doing a great job. Now you have let's see.
Spring Hill still on your side.
Spring Hill, who's a juggernaut. They're playing solid baseball. And all of these teams that I named, they have big wins outside of the conference, as you said, in February. So these guys are able to really compete. So we have our hands full, Drew. But I know with the way we prepare and the things we focus on that we can compete with the best in the West and the best on the East side as well. And also you have Savannah State, who's now entered the conference, and Albany State, who's doing Scott Hemming. He's doing tremendous things down there, and they're competing at a high level. So it's no easy win. You have Payne College, who's very competitive. We played them early. Morehouse, they swing the bat well. Clark Atlanta's been consistent over the last 4 years. Casey is doing a great job with them. So just big shout out to a lot of coaches that are really putting the work in with these programs and making it tough for each of us. So we kind of beat up on each other, Drew, to be honest. So it's very competitive.
I think the only school you didn't hit was Benedict. Any words about Benedict?
Yes. Benedict is always. I'm like I say. I didn't mean to miss anybody, but Benedict is always a juggernaut, man. They're gonna always have some extremely athletic, hitters and base runners. And I hear that they have increased their pitching staff this year, so that's going to make them even tougher. So, yes, absolutely. Benedict is definitely a top school. Like I say, it doesn't matter who you play, Drew. You have to be prepared to play.
All right. Now, the SIAC only takes 8 teams, the top 8 teams, to the tournament. 4 teams from each side of the
Absolutely.
Of the conference. Last year, you had Albany State and Spring Hill in the finals. Tuskegee just missed making the tournament last year.
Absolutely.
What do you have to do to be one of those 4 that's in this year first, and then once you get in, what does it take for you to win it?
Well, we had to address shooting ourselves in the foot. I think we shot ourselves in the foot a lot last year, which caused us to miss it by that small margin. But also one thing we've improved on, because we're a developing program, Drew, but the key things we've improved on to work towards becoming a dominant program is to address the details, the attention to detail. So and also IQ. And just putting ourselves in the best situation to make the best decisions for a good outcome. Those are the things we're really focusing on, to get us better each year. And we've also gotten back to this blue collar approach. We had gotten a little soft as a program, so we're back to the blue collar approach. We never say never. It doesn't matter if we're down. We're going to keep playing. I understand that it's innings because it's baseball. There's no clock, so you have to make outs. So as long as we have outs on our sides, we have an opportunity, and I think our guys have adopted that mentality. So they're just working extremely hard to perfect their craft on and off the field. And I think with that approach, we'll be able to get back into the tournament if we keep that up.
Yeah, and in case those of you all who listen to this podcast, just so you know, we have gone off script a lot of times with this conversation, but it's been so interesting talking to Coach Reginald Hollins from Tuskegee University. And I'm going to go off script one last time before we talk about your big grand opening that you're going to have. There's been some movement in some of the other conferences, even some movement within the conferences. We know A&T left the MEAC going to the Big South. There have been rumors of other teams, other schools leaving HBCU conferences, going to PWI conferences. We know Savannah State recently joined the SIAC. Edward Waters will be in the SIAC in the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
Just kind of in general, just your feelings on the conference movement. What do you think? What do you think we need to do to improve SIAC sports in general, not just baseball? Because a lot of these moves are not related to football. Football's going to make its money. If you have anywhere a halfway decent team, football's going to make its money. But we all know football pays for everything: baseball, softball, tennis. A lot of basketball programs do not make money. Just your thoughts about all the conference movement and different things associated with all of those movements that's been going on.
Well, I think at the bigger levels, at the D1 levels, I think most of it is about opportunity and expanding their brand as an athletic department. So a lot of them are making bigger moves towards these larger conferences. So I think that's what it's about. But at the D2 level in the SIAC, I think it's really exciting to get the Savannah States and the Edward Waters back, into our conferences, simply because, it just makes us that much better. And it will also, improve the competition. But I think those platforms and those movement platforms for these schools are coming because of, financial stability and no stress coming back to the SIAC. Because sometimes when you move up to the D1 level, it can be, a financial constraint because there are certain things that come with moving up to a division. So I think it's important to keep our HBCUs in our conferences. But, I understand the business of it as well, as far as expanding your brand. So I think it's a good thing that Savannah State and Edward Waters are coming to our conference because it'll help them as a school, and it also help them have an opportunity to increase more of their resources because they're putting out less. So, such as facilities, I think we all have to continue to address facilities. That's a big issue for a lot of HBCUs. So if we continue to address those facilities, I think we'll put ourselves on a good platform to really be exposed how we need to. And then also just working on media coverage and national coverage to cover our student athletes that work so hard. I think they're well deserving of that national coverage. So if we can just kind of continue to do these facilities, the media, and the marketing of our programs, I think we could better our situations when it comes to the exposure.
And that's one thing that we here at the Black College Sports Network try to do. The company started by HBCU alum to try to promote HBCU sports, and we've been out and about recruiting, trying to get various universities to not only utilize our platform, but any platform. We want them to use our platform because we want the opportunity for the exposure, but any platform that you can use, be it ESPN3, Black College Sports Network. We're not going to mention the other ones because they are our competitors, but, and speaking of expanding our platform, you're going to be the first actual live baseball game that we've covered here on the Black College Sports Network. That's with the rededication and grand reopening of Washington Field. Tell us about what we're going to expect that day, and when people tune to us at by bcsn.net, what they're going to see.
Well, pretty much, man, we want to set an atmosphere of a celebration because this is a historic moment. And, I tell my guys, I've been telling them lately, like, don't take this for granted. It will make a lot more sense to you 15 years from now when you come back and see your name a part of this historic day. I said, so we have to cultivate a electric atmosphere and a celebratory atmosphere because this is a big deal. And so they can expect at 1:30 just to kind of see a dedication ceremony for some of the people that have been responsible for us returning.
And that's 1:30 Central Time.
1:30 Central Time, absolutely. And then following that, we will start the game at 2:30. But there will be concession available, a live DJ available, some giveaways, you name it. We're going to make the atmosphere, to a point to where the fans want to stay the entire game. So I think, anytime you get good baseball, some music and some food, and some free giveaways, I think you can put together a nice atmosphere. So we're looking forward to, having the community. We're also reaching out to Macon County schools to get those kids there. We want to acknowledge those schools so we can build these relationships, for the future. We've invited, the mayor's office. We'll also have the board of trustees there. They have their meeting set, and so they'll be in attendance. Some of those representatives will be in attendance. And then also the biggest thing is we're also a part of open house, spring open house. So there normally are 1,000 students or whatnot that come down to view the campus and learn more about Tuskegee. So they're also going to shift over and hopefully come and be a part of that celebration that day too. So we're expecting a pretty good number. And we're just expecting the fans to have an electric atmosphere and learn more about Tuskegee baseball and the great things that our young men are doing.
And on this opening day, what is it going to cost for these people to come and watch you guys play?
Great question. Entry is free for the opening day, so no charge at all, no entry fee.
And on a normal day, what is the charge if they want to just come watch Tuskegee baseball on any other day?
Right now it will consistently be free. We want to just engage our student body and our community back into what we're doing first. So we don't want them to focus on the cost of it right now. So for the rest of the season, it would be no fee for entry.
So for 2020, if you want to watch Tuskegee baseball, great HBCU baseball, it costs you absolutely nothing to come into the park. But I think he can't say it, but I will. I think he's going to ask you to bring $1 or $2 to buy some hot dogs and some other things to support them.
That's right.
Since they're letting you in free.
That's right. Yeah,
great.
Bring your little pocket change so you can feed yourself. Absolutely.
Right. Now, can I bring my lawn chairs and all that kind of stuff? Or do I have to sit the bleachers?
Yeah, we encourage fans to bring their lawn chairs. Some fans bring their tents to set up.
Can I bring my grill?
No, not quite a grill, man. Not quite.
Okay. All right, so leave the grill at the house.
Yeah, we'll take care of that part for you.
All right, just want to make that clear to everybody. You bring yourself, bring your money, but no outside food or drink.
There you go.
All right. Coach Hollins, how can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about the event, Tuskegee Baseball, if they have a child they want to put on your recruiting list, or probably even most importantly, if they want to send you a check to help support Tuskegee University Baseball?
The best way is to reach out via email. My email is rhollins@tuskegee.edu, or we can be reached via Tuskegee Athletics Department, and that number is area code 334-724-4525. Those are the best two ways to reach out in the event that you may have a student athlete that wants an opportunity, or you may want to donate to the program. Yeah, please feel free to reach out to my email. Again, it's rhollins@tuskegee.edu.
Spell your last name for people who may not be able to hear clearly.
That spelling is HOLLINS. And also you can reach out via internet to go to goldentigersports.com, and on that you will be able to click on baseball and find all of our information as well.
All right, Coach. Any last words before we get out of here?
No, just excited. Hope this reaches the community, and look forward to having as many people as we can to celebrate this special historic return on March 21st at 1:30 p.m.
All right, Coach Reginald Hollins, and you can reach out to us on the Black College Sports Network. Our website is www.mybcsn.net. You can hit us up on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN and the number 1. That's MyBCSN and the number 1. So, Coach Reginald Hollins, I am looking forward to covering this exciting event. I will be the analyst for that particular game. My partner, Brian Fulford, will be coming with the play-by-play on that particular day. March 21st, the grand rededication of Washington Field at Tuskegee. And it's a conference game. They will be taking on LeMoyne Owen out of Memphis, Tennessee, in an SIAC West matchup. Coach Hollins, thank you for your time. We here at the Black College Sports Network appreciate your effort.
Drew, thanks a lot, man. It's such a blessing to be on with you today. Look forward to seeing you on the 21st, man. Thank you.
All right, appreciate you. And for the Black College Sports Network, this is A.D. Drew, and we'll see you on the other side.
But you stay hard.